Hi, it's Hayley. I live in Wales in the UK and I work doing admin. So this is a channel about cross-stitching and embroidery and I hope you like it. So the order of business for today is I'm going to introduce myself really briefly and then we'll go straight into what I've been stitching for the month of November, and also take a look at the plans that I want to accomplish before the end of the year. And then I will also talk about some of the things that I design, but I will leave that right until the very end, so that way if you're not interested you don't have to watch that bit. First of all, about me, I have been cross-stitching since I was about 12, and the first kit that I ever did was this one, which is a Jane Greenough little rose kit, and this is the kit that I learned to cross-stitch on. This little rose, and it took me absolutely forever, and I never thought I was going to finish it, but I absolutely loved it. My cousin was a very patient teacher, teaching like a 12-year-old, but I absolutely loved it and I had lots of happy memories. I felt like I worked for years on this kit. It took me so long and it's so tiny, but I really did enjoy it, and this was on 18 count Ada. And then once I'd finished this little kit, which I really enjoyed, but I didn't start cross-stitching sort of seriously as an adult until 2011, and that's when I really started stitching again as an adult and fell in love with it again and remembered all the reasons why I loved it. And so the first project that I started stitching as an adult was this one. So this is Newton's Law, and it's called Keep Calm, and I think this is a 14 count Ada. I just bought the kit off eBay and stitched him, and I absolutely loved him. I loved the colours. I fell in love with cross stitch again and I absolutely loved it. Then I kept stitching. I did a few projects, I gave a few things away. I also dabbled in embroidery. I made a few little things. I made a little embroidery like little drawstring pouch. If I've got photos I'll pop them in. I also made a tree with like trees, flowers, and then these little owls that were on it, and I also did another couple of little cross stitch bookmarks, like one with roses on. I think that might have been a Heritage Crafts kit. I did a little under the sea design. You sort of took the motifs and put them together and had a little under the sea. That was another little bookmark, and again I was just sort of learning the different embroidery stitches, so that was really fun. So I would say I've been stitching, you know, more seriously as an adult since 2011, but just a couple of years break in the middle. And in 2017, when I picked up stitching again, I started with this little kit here. This was an All Our Yesterdays kit, little butterfly girl, and I'd had the kit free in a magazine back from when I was stitching previously. I picked her up one day and I fell in love with cross stitch all over again, and you've had that feeling of why did I ever stop, because it was so good for my mental health. I absolutely loved it and it really calmed me down. There was something very soothing about the rhythm of stitching and how it leaves your mind quiet to think, but you've got something to do with your hands. I absolutely loved it. I started stitching again and I just typed cross stitch into YouTube purely by chance, and then I discovered that in the years when I hadn't been stitching, a whole online community had started up, and there were just so many fresh, modern, fun designs, so many things I wanted to stitch, so many people doing it, because previously when I had stitched there was just myself and my cousin. We were the only ones I knew that stitched, so I was very fortunate to have somebody to talk to about it, but it was very much an old lady hobby, and it was quite difficult to get designs, or at least I found it so. And then I realised everything exploded and there were so many things that I wanted to stitch. Yeah, and I haven't looked back. That's when I started my Instagram, and yeah, started putting what I was stitching on there. And then in 2021 I started designing my own charts. It's something I've always done. I've always tweaked patterns just to suit my own aesthetic. Really enjoyed designing them, and I will show some of my designs at the end, but again, you can skip that portion if you're not interested, so I'll leave it until the end. So let's get into whips. In November I worked on a total of 8 projects, 7 like works in progress whips and 1 of my own designs. I had 1 new start and 1 little finish. So the first project I'm going to talk about is my oldest whip. This is the Dimensions Gold collection. It's the Aurora Cabin. You can see I'm stitching it on 16 count Ada because I've written it on there. Absolutely love this kit. I started it in 2017 and I tend to work on it primarily in like the winter time. This is how far I have got. This is the first Dimensions Gold kit that I've done. And so getting used to all of the changes of threads was a big learning curve for me. I actually had to check that it was correct. I had to like ask online because a lot of the sky you stitch with 6 strands half cross. In the sky there's a lot of blending filament. I don't know if you can see it in the sky, just gives it that sparkle, and like a million French knots, and I'm really bad at French knots, so I need to come across with these and bring them over here. But I just love it. I love the depth that it gives, given all the different using all the different like amounts of floss. So in November I just came here and I worked on the cabin, on some of the snow in the cabin here, and a little bit here in the wood. You can see I've backstitched everything up until this halfway point, and then I'm working down on this final quarter. My oldest whip, I absolutely love it. I love the reflections in the water that are coming and just the feeling of like iciness. Fab. The second project I worked on was the Castle View by Heaven and Earth Designs, artwork by Alexandra Gavrilova. And I just love the castle, and I've not seen anybody else stitching this, so if you know of somebody who is stitching this design, please will you let me know, because I'd love to see somebody else stitching it. I started this in May 2020, but I actually started it on 18 count Ada. Which way are we going? This way. I started on 18 count Ada, and then I actually restarted it again in June, because I decided that the 18 count was going to be too big and I wanted something a little bit smaller and more delicate. So this is now stitched on 25 count, half cross, 2/1. I actually started full cross 1/1. Here this is actually stitched in full cross, and then I swapped to half cross and I can't tell the difference, and it's going a bit faster, and I can do my loop start because it's 2 strands. I finished out the page here and then I joined up here in order to be able to start on the arch, which is a little bit more interesting and just breaks up all of that 818 and blanc. No, 819 it is. So I do love it, and I'm glad to be I'll be so glad when I'm out of that sky. So I'm almost at 3% with this project, which is great because before I restarted it, I was on 4%. So I need to get back up to that 4%, and I'll be back where I was. Next I stitched my seasonal piece. So I've got the whole set of 4 of these Autumn Is, Winter Is from Doreen Jones, and I'm stitching the autumn one on 32 count Belfast. I started it in October and in November I just added an extra 300 stitches. My plan for November was to finish this pumpkin, which I did, and I got him all back stitched, and just continue working this centre motif. Love the pumpkin, isn't he fab? This is 20% complete, and it will probably go away now, and I will stitch it next autumn because I want to get the winter piece back out for December. The fourth project I worked on in November is the Royal School of Needlework Goldwork Butterfly, and this is definitely pushing me. This is tricky. Basically, I'm the sort of person who, I don't like to do things by halves, and I really wanted to try goldwork, but I didn't like the easier designs, and so having never done it, I jumped straight in, and this is the next steps course, so you are supposed to have done the beginner course before you do this one. Never done goldwork before, so don't look too closely, but I am really enjoying it. But this is where we've got to. Look at the shine, I love it. Oh wow, look at that shine. So this is an online class that the Royal School of Needlework offer. It's self-paced. They are not inexpensive, however they do run offers occasionally. And I started this in March. I've got no idea what I'm doing. I've never done goldwork before. I've never done silk shading before. I really should have started at the beginning. But I will say that the tutor is Chrissy Juno Mann, and she is fantastic. She explains everything so well. So even a complete newbie like me, I have been able to follow the instructions. Is it as good as a more advanced goldwork stitcher could do? No, there's so many mistakes, but I am loving it, and I love the design, I love the effect, and I would always rather put in that extra work and that learning curve and get a design that I really love. For me, that's really important, and I love throwing myself in the deep end. It's fun. So there's 13 sort of steps or stages for this, and I have just completed number 8. So if I show you here, so this, I think it's called diaper couching, if you can see. So that had already been done, and I'd already done the silk shading, and these wingtips are like a leather that you stitched down along with these little, I think they're rococo. And so in this month I already had that, they call it like the gully of the wing. I'd already got it on one side, and so I evened my butterfly up and did it again on the other side, couching down that rococo, and then that sort of S-ing, is it called? S-pearl? I did that on that side. It's just, everything about goldwork is so new. Everything is just a whole new thing, so different to cross stitch and embroidery. This is the kit pack that you get with all the goodies in. You get a lot of materials, so you get like this bright check, and they're all gorgeous. Oh yeah, that's the rococo. It's like this sparkly wavy one. This is pearl, and that comes up a lot, and that's really cool because you can like couch it down and you can stretch it and wrap DMC threads around it. And then there's a couple more of these like Japanese couching threads. So I'm following the instructions super carefully because I don't have a clue what anything is, but I am really enjoying the challenge because it's just something completely out of my comfort zone and really different for me. So after I finished the wing gully, then we did the outline, and that is the pearl that you couch down. And if you can see here on the bottom edge, that is also pearl, but that's called overstretched pearl pearl, and that's where you have the DMC colour inside it. It gives an amazing effect. Plunging the gold threads, so hard, unbelievably hard. And then I had the real fun bit of doing the pearls. So you put the pearls on and you do the wiggly gold one. Please, if you're a gold worker, please excuse my ignorance. That one. Okay, so the wiggly gold one is known as bright check, and you put that around the outside of the pearl. I'm holding my breath the whole time I'm working on this, and I need really good light. So that was that. And I would definitely recommend the RSN online courses. I found it a really good way to dip my toe into the RSN and how they teach and how they operate, and the sort of standard that they're looking for, without the expense of actually travelling to Hampton Court. So I saved up for the course and the kit, and I am really enjoying it. It's been fun. Also in March of this year, I also started this. So I call this my Pembroke Coast. My own design. It's not for sale. This is just a learning project for me, and I thought I would have a go at trying to translate a photograph into stitch. I was inspired by I think it's Mishi embroidery on Instagram, and so again, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm making it up as I go along. I've never done anything like this before, but I'm really enjoying it. So I look at the photograph, I try and match the colours up, and then I suppose it's a form of silk shading or long and short stitch. I hesitate to call it that because I don't think it's particularly true to long and short stitch. I just kind of stitch where it takes me, and so I try and like copy. So obviously I try and copy the lines. So with the sea, I was doing horizontal backwards and forwards, and then as we got to the seashore here, I was just coming up a little bit, and again the ocean against the cliffs, just trying to come up, almost trying to use the thread like paint, like so you're sort of following the movement. Yeah, no clue what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go. So I'm stitching this on I think it's a 200 count cotton. It needs to be quite tight in the hoop, and I've got a fabric stabilizer on as well to sort of help stabilize the fabric, I guess. Makes sense. And so on this rotation this month, I'd already got a few of these pink flowers at the foreground, but I wanted to continue. I added to the flowers, and then I was stitching this greenery. This greenery kind of panicked me, but it's getting there. I was quite pleased. And then I also then stitched this little grasses that poke out over the ocean. So, and it kind of shines. It's just, I'm stitching a DMC one strand. This one's a bit more, I have to really concentrate. I have to have quite good light so I can match the colours off the photograph. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. This was taken on holiday down in Pembroke, right on the Pembrokeshire coastal path. I've got some really good memories of seeing all the dolphins and the seals, and it's really fun to be able to sort of stitch a memory. So I'm enjoying it. This is another one I hold my breath while I'm stitching. Right, now we'll get on to my finish. So I have a few of the little smalls, like little small kits. This was free in a magazine, and it's from the March 2018 Cross Stitcher magazine. And so this is the little finish. So it came with everything that you needed free in the kit, including the ribbons. I didn't particularly like stitching on this fabric because the design was printed on, which is I just wasn't really used to that. But I am pleased with the final result. It came with the felt to just tack it onto, and then the little ribbons to make these little woven roses, which is cute, and then it came with all different words that you could have put on, so there was all different sentiments. What I don't like about it is that you can see the print of the design underneath. It was printed in blue, and especially in the bee's wings you can just see it a little bit, which is a shame. But it was a nice fun stitch to take out and about, and I like the little tiny kits for that, they're really good. And now on to new starts. I have had one new start, but it's quite a huge one. I started it on the 20th of November. And this is Castle Wolves by Heaven and Earth Designs, artwork by Jan Patrick Krasny. This is how far I have got. I am about halfway through page 1. I'm stitching this 2/1 stitch on 25 count, the easy guide, the Zweigart easy guide. Now, I absolutely love anything with snow, forests, wintry castles. I love those things. And so this chart, even though it's nothing like I would normally stitch, it really isn't my kind of aesthetic, even the colours, and it's a very fantasy vibe. It's a very fantasy looking piece. And it's not what I normally go for at all, but there was just something about it that I couldn't pass up, and I just thought it'll be so much fun to stitch. I'm going to treat it like a jigsaw and just really enjoy seeing it come to life. There's the castle, which I can't wait to start stitching. There's the little wolves, and there's all the berries with the snow on them, and then like the owls flying overhead and all that, like amazing, the colours of the sky, and like the stars and the moon. I think it was Silver Stitcher stitching this on Instagram. I'll put her details below. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, wow. And yeah, so a new start. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm stitching at I think they're icicles, and then there's going to be a tree branch that comes across. And I think I've got about 4 pages to get through before I hit the castle. So I'm going to work along the top of this design. So let's talk plans for December. For the Heaven and Earth Castle, I don't think I'll finish the whole page, but I'd like to certainly get a good start on it and maybe do half the page. And it should go fairly quickly because, like I said, it's just DMC Blanc and 819 over and over again. So at least it should go fairly quickly. On the Aurora cabin, I would really like to work more on this cabin and get the cabin done, so then it can be the focal point of the design. Do the stitching and the back stitching, and then if I have time, depending, there are a few random stitches there that need in the trees that need doing, and then again obviously all that would look lovely if it was all filled in. So depending on time, get the cabin done and then work in that forest there a little bit. For my seasonal piece, I'm going to continue with Doreen Jones' Winter Is. So this is the winter version. I'm stitching autumn on 32 count Belfast in antique white, but the winter one I wanted a bit of sparkle, and so I'm stitching this on 32 count even weave opalescent. I started this last winter and I'm at approximately 30%. It doesn't look like 30%, but I think it's because that centre motif is really dense with the stitching. And at first I was just trying to do the centre, and it was quite boring because you're just filling in the background backwards and forwards. So then I started alternating a length of thread in the centre motif and then one in one of the ones on the side, and I'll work my way round. So in December I would love to finish the robin and get him all back stitched up, and then we'll see if I could. I'm not sure what I'll do with this centre. Let me know what you think I should do. I could either continue the very pale blue background and get all of this bit completed, or I could start back stitching and then just like do the bits of back stitch that I can and then continue work. So I will be working on that, and I'm looking forward to working on this again because it's been quite a long time since I've worked on this one. For the RSN Goldwork Butterfly, the next stage, and I'm completely intimidated, is number 9, which is the flower petals. So I think we're starting on this. I think that's silk shaded in the middle, and so I will have a go at that, and I will report back at the end of December and let you know how it's gone. Totally intimidated by that. When I work on Castle Wolves again, I would like to try and finish this first page. I don't know if I will, there's quite a lot of colour changes, but if I could finish page 1, then that would be awesome. With Pembroke Coast, I would like to continue work in the foreground. I'm not sure how much I will be able to complete, but let's say I'll be aiming for all of this foreground just here and see how much of that I can get done. Again, I think I'm working this in completely the wrong order, because from what I've read, you're like supposed to, or a good way of doing it is to work the dark colours first and all the background things, and then gradually work your way to the lighter colours, which is, you know, the light as opposed to the shadows, and work your way to the foreground. So I'm just doing everything in a completely wrong order because I'm sort of starting in the foreground and working my way back. We'll see. We'll see. If you think I'm doing it all wrong, let me know in the comments. This is just a learning piece. I am learning as I go on this one. And then finally, for the little Love and Roses piece, I wanted to get it fully finished. I didn't quite have the time. So the beast's the right way up now. I'd like to attach this onto a little card and be able to give it as a little gift for somebody. So that's my goal for that one. And so finally, I'll just quickly show you some of my designs. I don't know whether to include them in the Flosstubes or not. It is part of my stitching and it's part of what I've worked on, so I thought I will show you. And if you're not interested, you can switch off now, and that's absolutely fine. This is the Autumn Band Sampler. It's by Stitching Cabin, yours truly. And the 4th band has just been released for December. So it started in September. I think we had September's band, October, November, and then December is these pumpkins. I tried to give the sort of Cinderella's pumpkin vibes, like we've got a few little sparkles, or like fireflies. So that's how far we've got with this one. Let's not talk about the fact that I kicked my glass of water over just before and it's wet through on the back, so I must be like the worst model stitcher ever. So I'm model stitching this, so I've got photos to show people what it's going to look like. Hopefully yours won't be drenched. And I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who's signed up. It's a special feeling when you see other people stitching your designs. It's just, there's something really special about it, and for the nice messages that I get. So thank you very, very much. And I can't show you any more. Like I've stitched a lot more in the design, but I can't show you that yet because I don't want to spoil the surprise. So yeah, started in September, and it's a 12-month mystery stitch along, and so we don't know what bands are coming. I know what's coming. Other people don't. Let's hope I know what's coming. Otherwise we'll be in trouble. These are the threads. It's a simple design. It's only got 6 colours and a cry-neck. Sorry about the cry-neck. I know some people hate it. I love the sparkle it gives. The threads are also wet through from the from the glass going over. Thank goodness it wasn't my tea. And then finally I will just show you this one. We've just finished the stitch along. So now the stitch along is finished. Everybody got the last part for December on the 1st of December, which was this pine forest. And then this little band of holly leaves and a bit of sparkle. This is the Nordic Winter Band sampler, and I've stitched this on 32 count Belfast linen in antique white. So I'm also stitching the autumn one on antique white as well, 32 count, so that it matches in size. And then this will be the autumn one. Different colour palettes, which has been fun. I must say I am drawn to the winter colours. I love blues and pinks and silvers, greys, whites, a little bit of like the purples and the periwinkles. Love winter colours. Yeah, and this was the first big piece that I designed, and I just wanted to talk about how I've finished it. I've laced it onto a piece of, I think it's 3mm, is it foam board or mount board? I got it from a UK company called Easy Frame in the UK, and you just give them the measurements that you want, and then they cut the board for you. You can also purchase the frames for it too, which is a little bit cheaper than taking it to a professional framer, but you still get the custom sizes. I laced it myself onto the back. Again, don't look too closely. It's best not to, with any of my things, not to look too closely. Yeah, just laced it as tight as I could. I pinned it, laced it, and now I can display it for December through to February. And then hopefully by next autumn I will be able to display the autumn one, and I've got another piece of the board, and I don't know if I'm going to frame this yet or whether just to leave it like this, because it does sort of stand up and it's a bit cheaper. And I'm working on a spring one. I haven't decided on the colour scheme yet, I haven't finalised that. I'm trying to decide whether to do it with, as I've done with these two, and do the DMC thread colours, the main block colours, or whether to chart it in DMC variations. I haven't decided yet. I'm looking forward to starting to stitch that once I've finalised the colour palette. So that's everything. Thank you very much for, if you've made it this far to the end of the video. I really do appreciate your patience as I get over the really awkward sort of first floss tube. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I do absolutely love watching everybody else's floss tubes. I really love watching Flosstube. I always have it on when I'm stitching. It's something nice to listen to. Normally I've got my head down stitching, and then I sort of look up to look at the progress pictures. But I really do enjoy watching you all, and thank you for letting me join you. And so I will hopefully come back at the end of the year, and we will see if I have met my goals or if I haven't. Could be interesting, specifically, especially with the goldwork butterfly. Let's all hold our breath that I can get these petals done. It's a learning process, I tell you. Anyway, thank you ever so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I had to go make myself a cup of tea because I'm not used to just talking in a monologue. Your throat just wants like give up and die.